Hi friends, host Eric here to piss you off this morning with objectively great through shitty bands. Yes, art is objective. No, I can't prove it. I mean, nobody can establish it for sure. But these are objectively correct assessments of these bands. If you disagree, your art taste is wrong. Alright, so let's go over the shitty bands first. I did not thoroughly and expansively go through every possible band to make these lists. There's just things that occurred to me this morning as I was thinking about shitty bands. Let's start with at the top here, Counting Crows. That band and that other band that was kind of similar that had I can't remember their name. Anyway, those kinds of bands are terrible. Counting Crows, there's nothing redeeming about it. They've got one song that was a hit, and they've probably been living off that for ever since, but they have no redeeming quality worth listening to ever. And if you're caught listening to them, well, everybody can conclude that you've got terrible taste in music. Number 4, The Grateful Dead. An absolute shitting in the soup of everybody's ears. You know, it's like you're just shitting in everybody's ears constantly, Grateful Dead. Why? Because you think that your masturbatory jams are worth recording and putting on albums. Because you're terrible. Kings of Leon. Oh my god. What a catastrophic aesthetic failure that band is. Everything about them fails. The way that they construct their songs, quote unquote, is clearly songwriting by committee. Somebody comes up with a lick on the guitar and then they add the various parts in, and it's just absolutely garbage. And only people with incredibly bad taste in music have any willingness to like or listen to any of that shit. The only reason I'm even familiar with the band is because my ex-girlfriend liked them, and I was just like, what the hell is wrong with you? Number 2, I put Sonic Youth in here because I want to be clear that shittiness is an equal opportunity employer. The only reason that Sonic Youth ever got popular or whatever is because they have a cool name and they had cool pictures on the front of their albums. Musically, they're a clusterfuck of disaster. Everything about them sucks ass. They have no intuitive hookiness. They've got no vision behind any of their material. And of course, number 1, the worst culprit of that visionless meh is Dave Matthews Band. Dave Matthews Band is the only band I put in here that has a guy's name in it, on the grounds that I'm trying to just focus on bands and not individuals. But he definitely plays as a band and tours all the time, and lots of people follow him around like the new Grateful Dead, and just like the Grateful Dead, they're absolutely unbearably terrible. There's no redeeming quality whatsoever to be found in that music. Now, let's look at hit and miss bands worth mentioning. These are bands that have some really great stuff and some really shitty stuff. Velvet Underground, a seminal musical endeavor that was massively influential to lots of people. But if you listen to actual VU albums, they're all recorded so terribly and executed in such a sloppy fashion that it really drags you down a little bit. And Lou Reed, in his hit and missery, also was guilty of plenty of 7-minute, 8-minute long songs, which are just never a good idea. Don't do that. So, at the same time, if you toss Lou Reed into the equation as well, you've got songs like Perfect Day and Satellite of Love, which are absolutely spectacular, and you've got lots of fantastic Velvet Underground songs as well, from Rock and Roll to Oh Sweet Nothing to Sweet Jane, or some of the hits, you know. But songs like Pale Blue Eyes, Sunday Morning are fantastic songs, or a song of theirs that goes, if you close the door, the night would last forever. That's a great song, you know. Pixie, number 4, Caper Van Beethoven. This is a band I put here because almost nobody knows about them. Caper Van Beethoven is a great band from the 80s that started making music when, when I was, I guess, in high school probably. And they actually come from the same university that I ended up going to, which is University of California, Santa Cruz. They've got some great songs. They were doing amazing stuff for the time, but they also have some meowy stuff. So you stick them there. Nirvana, same kind of thing. Yeah, they've got some great work, and they've got a lot of. You can really feel their struggle of Kurt Cobain to have a clear vision and not get distracted by aesthetic distractions like grunge. So, Nirvana's got one especially standout album, which is Nevermind, and even that, you got to be in the mood for it, They definitely got more credit than they deserved. But at the same time, they also deserved credit. The Pixies, too, another hugely influential band that's pretty damn great. They could easily enough be in the great list. Except, ultimately, Frank Black, he and the Pixies recorded a lot of stuff, and the albums get kind of thin towards the end. Like, they don't really have that kind of visionary pop. The first Pixies EP that has Ed is Dead on it and stuff is a stunning accomplishment. And there's a lot of great stuff. I've seen the Pixies a couple times now. I saw them way back in 1989 or 1990 at a very small show at the University of Irvine. And I saw them much more recently at the Rose Bowl. Pretty great band. Really, any of these bands, if you included them on your great list, I wouldn't condemn you for it. Number one, Steely Dan. Just to show that it is possible to be proggy and good, although it's very, very unusual. Steely Dan successfully pulls it off, but they're very hit and miss. Some of their songs are too long, too jazzy, or various other problems. And yet, Donald Fagen truly is a genius. His first solo album, the only Donald Fagen album, because he retains the name Steely Dan, so he can record under that if he wants to, even though Becker's dead. Walter Becker. It's one of the solo albums. He really made two of them, but one of them is called Nightfly. That's a really genius fucking album beyond all reckoning. And it's not even technically a Steely Dan album, but they've got a lot of great songs. He's just one of the challenges of liking Steely Dan is that Donald Fagen's always so too cool for school that there's not really any way of authentically engaging anybody because he's not presenting to anybody authenticity per se. Okay, now great bands. Green Day. Don't underestimate Green Day. Green Day kicks all kinds of ass. And if you want to see, you want to listen to what should, in my opinion, win some sort of prize for most accomplished music production ever, 21 Guns is the most enormous, beautifully mixed and mastered work of production genius, as well as being a great song, that you're just ever going to encounter. You cannot produce rock music any better than that. Talking with fans people, They Might Be Giants. They Might Be Giants is a fantastic band that, despite producing myriad albums and shit tons of songs, continues to pop out really good, catchy hits. Now, because they've got so many songs, the importance of the catalog, of each individual instance within the catalog, gets lost in the wash a bit. And so, I don't listen to a ton of They Might Be Giants. They're a little precious, and again, you've got the same problem with Steely Dan. There's a lack of authenticity. There's no individuals there authentically telling you about their individual experience in any way, shape, or form because it's an ENTP band, and they don't understand that bit of the aesthetic puzzle like I do. Not that I'm better than they are. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that is a gap in their aesthetics. Not that I don't have, but that I understand fully because I'm the same type as they are. And I do have that gap in most of the stuff I do. It's just that, unlike They Might Be Giants, I'm not constantly avoiding my own authentic experience no matter what. 3, Cake. You could have put them in hit and miss a bit because some of their newer albums and maybe some of their very oldest albums are kind of yeah. But when whoever that guy is who's in charge of Cake was really fixated on writing songs, he wrote brilliant songs. And the biggest problem that they have is his bad habit of messing around with the rhythm in his vocals so it doesn't land on the beat like you expect it to. So it's hard to sing along with, among other negative consequences of that. And what you can attribute that to is too much extroverted intuition. That's trying to avoid the sweet spot because it sounds too sing-songy or whatever, has too much pop. Well, that's just the fundamental wrong aesthetic. When extroverted intuition tries to push introverted intuition out of the way and say, I'm better than you, then you get mistakes like that. In the worst case scenario, you get somebody like Fiona Apple, who's not on this list because she's a person, not a band, who had this brilliant first album with a couple of genius songs on it and a couple other really good ones, and then devolved into her extroverted intuition such that she moved away further and further from anything that had real snap or pop or connection to it because she's too enamored in the smell of her own farts. Number 2, Weezer. This is what prompted me to start this video in the first place. Is I was listening to Beverly Hills by Weezer, and if there's any band that can legitimately stand up and say, I'm the alternative choice to number 1, it's got to be Weezer. They've got so many amazingly compact, complete, and distinct songs, and so much clarity about where the sweet spot is. They deserve all praises due on lots of different levels. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any bad Weezer songs. You could stick them somewhat in the hit and miss thing, but there's a real clarity about aesthetics in Weezer that you can just tell. The guy who's in charge of it is definitely an INFJ and is definitely a genius. There's no excess extroverted intuition there. The other thing to take away from Weezer is it's revelatory about how you don't really need good lyrics to be a great band. It's not like Weezer's got great lyrics, but it doesn't matter. Beverly Hills, that's where I want to be. Come on, go in Beverly Hills. It's such a good song, and the video is kind of ridiculous too because they did it at the Playboy Mansion with Hugh Hefner. But it's it really, it's like you just cannot help but move with it, you know. It's how you do good songwriting, but a lot of Weezer songs have the same quality of being how you do good songwriting, including like Pork and Beans. It's an amazing track, even though it's got silly lyrics, right? And then number 1, the greatest band of all time is and will always be the Beatles. If you don't agree with this, you're just completely wrong. If you listen to Beatles albums from, say, either Rubber Soul or Revolver, whichever came first, through the end of the Beatles catalog, it's so astonishing what they accomplish it's astonishing. It's mind blowing. They do this continual succession of genre creating and defining songs. If you want to listen to one of the greatest little short rock songs in history that people just forget about because it's in the mix of this big Beatles catalog of genius shit, She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. It's such an amazing, amazing track. It's just mind blowing. She came in through the bathroom window. Didn't anybody tell her? Didn't anybody see? It's stunningly genius. So, if you disagree with any of these things, you are objectively wrong. I'm making an objective calculus about aesthetics here. It's absolutely correct. And to the extent that you disagree with it, you are wrong. And you need to go back to your radio and say, I've been wrong about you all this time. Eric's taught me a thing or two about aesthetics today. I'm liking the wrong music.